Destiny Rising is launched and day one is straight popping off as the game has hit number one on the US app downloads charts and a good portion of the community has gained access to the content in question. So, what's my opinion? Well, this isn't going to be a review for obvious reasons since we don't have, all of the content, but hey, let's talk about day one in Destiny Rising. So obviously the game is doing great. Smashing download numbers and managing to keep players engaged in its content is a tough challenge for any game, especially a hybrid first-person mobile gacha shooter. A majority of the population associates a negative connotation with gacha games and mobile games, so for a game that combines the two to achieve the critical success it's achieved thus far, pure cinema to see this awesome community and this massive achievement. Congrats to NetEase and the entire team, honestly. Now, let's all talk about the game specifically. Login was easy in North America, not a server issue to be seen for me personally, despite the popularity of the game, and getting up and running with mouse and keyboard and Moo was an absolute breeze. I ran an account on APAC when the servers opened at 10 the previous night and had issues with BlueStacks as well as sign-in, so seeing that I didn't have any of those issues here was a very pleasant and welcome surprise. The out-of-the-box sensitivity tuning was pretty good, but I did a little tuning to really make it feel natural, and it was off to the races from there. So, one of my biggest issues in the alpha was the controller felt way too magnetic with a reticle. Target switching was a big concern, so I had some concerns that perhaps would really need to dig into the controller settings, but all honesty, the default settings were decently on point for my Razer Kishi Ultra right out of the box. There are also options to adjust the aim assist value in the settings that weren't present in the beta or alpha, so I have to say the pure amount of customizability with your settings and keybinds, controller bindings, and everything else in the full build is actually a extremely welcome change. In terms of the story though, the first portion of the story presented is, pretty magoo. It's more or less the exact same as what it was presented in the alpha and the beta, but with full voice acting present. That having been said, once you're out of the first arc, the writing does seem to improve pretty massively, so try to stick it out until the Red Sea. Also, there is some actual AI voice lines in the game, but it's most of the main cast is actually fully acted out now, so it's not really a concern of mine, but if that does irk you, be aware you may hear it in passing or in some side missions, I guess you could say. But honestly, you barely even really notice it, in my opinion. It's something you kind of just shrug off, Having played the alpha and the beta, I can easily say that this is also the most rewarding that Destiny Rising has ever been. With Lumina Leaves returning to achievements and draws being tacked on as mission rewards, I found myself with a lot of pulls by the time I unlocked the ability to cash in my Bon Voyage charms. As part of a welcome gift, players are also treated to a 20% discount on the standard banner pool for their first 5 10-pull cash-ins, making it only cost 8 pulls per 10 for the first 40 pulls for 50 rewards, which is nice. In addition, the first mythic character guarantee kicks in at a 30 pity, so you'll be adding Tantu, Ningfei, or Yolder to your crew fairly quickly. I don't know if my luck was just that good. I can already see the comments saying streamer luck, but I actually cashed in 60 total pulls, 40 on the standard banner and 20 on the Gwyn banner, and I pulled every character in the game except for Yolder. It's possible that my luck was, just that good, but from what I've gathered from others playing in my orbit, similar stories aren't uncommon. Taking a look at the Overflow Crystal system, which saw an overhaul, I can now say that the system really isn't that much different from before. Mythic Heroes nodes still cost 1 Overflow Crystal each, and Legendaries still average out to basically 2 per node. To further explain, essentially the talent tree is broken into 3 cost sections of 2. The 1 crystal, 2 crystal, and 3 crystal sections. The first 2 nodes cost only 1 each, down from 2 in the beta, and the last 2 cost 3 each, up from 2 in the beta. I've seen a lot of comments from those that really don't like this change, and my initial reaction was the same. However, after getting hands-on with it, I'm actually going to go on record and defend it, and here's why. The only thing in this game that we're actually drawing for is cosmetics and characters. You're guaranteed at least 1 legendary character per 10 pulls. Special banner characters like Gwyn have rate-up characters to boot. In this case, Shamwei, Finala, and Atal. While standard banner includes all 3 of those rate-ups as well as Kabir and Nakura. Since there are only 5 possible legendaries in the pool and you're getting 1 every 10 pulls on a 60 pity, that means you're getting legendaries at a theoretical rate of 6 to 1, compared to mythics. If each talent node cost only 1 crystal, you'd only need 6 copies of each hero to max out their talent trees. Once that happens, you'll get a bonus amount of special currency every time you draw the hero, which could then be cashed in for high-end in-game materials and the like in the exchange. This is partly because there's not any actual dupe control. What I mean by that is, there's a very real possibility that you could max out Ikora's tree, which is 12 draws on top of the free grant from the campaign, and draw a 13th Ikora. If all of the trees only required 6 draws each, that could break the economy of that specific currency. However, free-to-play players will come to rely on that currency, because it's the easiest way to pull Mythic Overflow crystals without putting in 60 draws. Though you're limited to 1 per character per month, it's still one of the only sources of quote-unquote free Overflow crystals in the game. So in the end, the devs' hands were tied by their own system. If there were more heroes in the loot pool to draw from, it would be a different story. So the good news is we could actually see changes in the future when the pool expands, but for now, because of how it was designed and the limited amount of heroes in the pool, this was really the only available option to keep things progressing. A new feature in the draw system is the pictographs for characters that include cosmetics and skins for weapons. I love this addition, as it's a way to earn weapon skins without actually being forced to use your credit card, which is a very welcome change, by the way. Not to mention, you'll likely be passively cashing in pools frequently and building up these rewards extremely passively, which is also really nice. It also makes rewards a bit more predictable, as trying to draw Gwen's spawn effect from her banner previously back in the beta was really completely unpredictable. It's still not really perfect since there's multiple murals and random on which pieces you'll get, but it's certainly a vast improvement over what came before, if I'm being honest. In addition, and I'm not sure if this was just an unfortunate glitch on my end or if really everyone had the same thing happen, but I only had 80 Pinnacle Energy available on launch. I thought having 120 sucked, but having only 80 for the whole day was also really terrible. Stamina system aside, the free rewards do feel a little better from what they were back in the beta, and I did find out that public events no longer charge you Pinnacle Energy for their rewards, and they're a great way to farm out weapon prisms, so, use that information for what you will. But from what I've experienced so far, if I'm being honest, it's still not enough. It's better, but this is still a looter shooter, and the loot is still too light in some activities. Day 1 saw the introduction of Shifting Gates, which is one of my favorite game modes, and it also brought in Legacy, which is there, I guess. It's not bad, it's not good, but not bad. But what is bad? The free rewards Legacy offers. Granted, we're locked to lower difficulty echelons presently, so my opinion may change once I get to test higher difficulty versions and see what their rewards look like, so I'm going to hold off on full judgment for now and remain, let's say, skeptically optimistic. As to what little I've seen of free rewards definitely point to improvement, though. But now, I want to address the elephant in the room. The thing that actually upset me the most isn't something new, and it's not something changed. It's something that has persisted since the alpha, and continues to plague the game today: the time gate. At the time of this recording, the team level is capped at 20 for the day. This will not expand until the following day at 7 a.m. and will continue for periodically throughout the first week. This was an issue in the alpha, remained an issue in the beta. It was understandable though, because as part of a test, the last thing you want is someone choosing to burn through all the content in a day and then ditching the game without playing long enough to actually offer real tangible feedback. However, we're in launch. I understand that the same sentiment can apply, especially given that servers were staggered by area, but what's the purpose of limiting us so severely on day 1? The content drop today was barely enough to actually whet the appetites of people playing. Why was the limit not raised to team level 40 or 45? Why were the free activities like fishing, sparrow racing, iron bar, and shadow shaper duels locked for tomorrow instead? There are a number of pieces of content completely locked behind a time gate that actively discourages players from continuing to play once they hit a certain point. There are other things to go and do, but still, the limited Pinnacle Energy coupled with the limited available activities makes for a somewhat sour combo. Further, after asking One Winged Angel and Zippy, I found that none of us were given more than 80 energy. meaning not only were we limited on activities and completely restricted from the free offerings, but we also weren't even given a full energy charge for the day, further limiting what we could potentially earn. While I don't like this aspect of the game, it's really too late to change it now that things are live and in production. My advice to everyone is to continue grinding. Why would I do that if my progress is locked? Well, that's simple. Because you can overcap. When day 2 kicked off at 7 a.m., I immediately started at level 31. This is because I continued playing activities and completing world objectives despite being locked out of progression. You can overlevel and prepare for the next day, and it works in perpetuity. If you find yourself still wanting to play, there are options, is basically what I'm saying. I still don't like the arbitrary time gating, since that's keeping us all from the meat and potatoes of the game, like exotic weapons, mythic weapons, and other locations and game modes, but I'm happy to see that at least they didn't make my continued efforts past their artificial wall be in vain. Lastly, let's touch on microtransactions. I've got a video on all the different currencies and their uses coming sometime early next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that one, but in the meantime, let's talk about microtransaction packs because they can be a little confusing. Let me preface this by saying you absolutely cannot stack multiple season passes. Let's say you buy the Enhanced Battle Pass Plus for $9.99, then you buy the Founders Pack for $19.99, right? The Founders Pack includes a 30-day membership to the Blessings of Light program, as well as the Enhanced Battle Pass. Instead of just having 2 seasons worth of Battle Passes, you actually get 300 silver. That equates to a $4.99 value, which is the cost of the Battle Pass. You can't stack Battle Passes and can end up buying something twice. For example, Tree of Light's Blessing. During the beta, I accidentally did just that with the Tree of Light's Blessing. Luckily, that stacked, but the Battle Passes didn't. All of that to say, just be warned that you can't double up on the Battle Passes. And that about sums things up. Those are my honest thoughts about day 1 of Destiny Rising. Despite the frustrations, I'm just happy to be back in the saddle again. I've severely missed being able to play, and the improvements they've made from the beta here actually feel great. I can't wait to see what tomorrow holds. So, thanks for watching this video on my thoughts on day 1. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I've got a few videos planned for this week and next week to break some additional things, like the various currencies down for everyone, so if that or other Destiny Rising content sounds like it might be up your alley, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when I post. Also, as a side note in post, thank you all very, very much for 300 subs. You guys are absolutely flippin' awesome, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it, you guys. It's an honor to have your viewership, so thank you again, and I'll catch you all next time.